Hey, good morning. Good morning. I love seeing all these names pop in. I would love to have you turn on your cameras. I think we've got it set up so that the cameras are off when you pop in. So turn your cameras on. Hello, Bridget. So good to see you. And Luke and Jane, so good to see you. And Liliana, oh my gosh. Hello, hello. Everybody, I'm so glad that you're here today because we've got a very special program today. We usually come together on Sunday to share love and the philosophies and teachings and principles of this book, Ancient Secrets of a Master Healer by Clint G. Rogers. And we love this book. It's a North Star for the majority of us. And today we get to talk about this book, The Philosopher's Wrench. And this was by Larry Weingarten, and we get to talk. The Wisdom of the World published this book, and we are excited to be able to meet with Larry, to be able to share the wisdom and philosophy from this book. Wonderful. Has anybody read the book, or does anybody have the book? Bridget has the book. Okay, go ahead and take yourself off mute. And anybody who's read parts of the book would like you to take yourself off mute. Bridget. Ah.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I loved Gary's book because it had a lot of good wisdom in it, interspersed with a lot of plumbing and heating. And I learned a lot about water and his passion for plumbing and the mechanical trades, but I loved it. A great book, highly recommended.
I love it. I know, is Stephanie here? Stephanie or Jane? Jerem, did you happen to read a segment of the book or read the book?
I've read about 2/3 of Larry's book, and I absolutely love it. I think it's just an amazing combination of how to live a compassionate life and to know your environment and how to connect with animals. And it's just very beautiful. Very beautiful. So much wisdom. So much wisdom. Yeah. Great gift. I highly recommend it.
If you have this book, I would like you to go and get your copy of it. And we're going to be using your copy towards the end of the book, at the end of the call. So if you don't have it in front of you, go and get it. Is there anybody else that has read the book or read an excerpt of the book they would like to share? One of the things that for me is I just randomly opened it up. Somebody from the community suggested that we do that. And I don't think I've got it marked still. But that day I was thinking about creating my own reality. And in the book, it said, I turned to the page where Larry talks about creating your own reality. It was very profound for me that day. And I don't see it, otherwise I'd read it. But anyway, it is full of wisdom and heart. Karen, did you want to say something?
Yeah, so I bought the book when I was in Sedona. And so it was my nighttime reading, snuggling into my sleeping bag as I was camping. So it's a fantastic read. I haven't quite finished it because late at night I was getting pretty tired, but it's excellent. I love the combination, as the other person said, of the wisdom and the fun stories, the cat stories, the animal stories. It was just delightful.
Awesome.
And I have to say a side thing. I know we're talking about Larry, but I also bought the CD of Jerem's, and oh my God, Jerem, I have to call you about that. Wow, I put that on and I was singing along. So we have talented people in this group. So thank you, people, for offering your talent.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, speaking of talent, I want to introduce Gary Malkin. Gary, you've got a wonderful announcement.
Hi everyone. Haven't seen you all since Saved Jerem. Oh, I see all these beautiful faces now that I can say I've met some of you in person. It's so great to see you all. Jaina has invited me and Hope to present a version of the thing that we rushed through in the Sedona thing. If you remember, I was in a pool of tears when I was about to start the presentation Hope and I gave in Sedona. So maybe I'll actually be a little bit more composed. But we're excited because we're launching the full online version of You Awake, Mastering the Art of Change on August 19th and 20th. And we've made a 50% coupon for people that will sign up for the 30th. And we'll announce that on the 23rd, next Sunday. But Jaina and the community, Ancient Secrets community, has invited us to create a presentation of mastering the kind of a 50-minute version of Mastering the Art of Change in next week's call. And the exciting thing, I mean, the whole thing's exciting. We love it. We're so grateful. But the exciting thing is also, Jaina, would you say about inviting everybody?
Yeah, I would like everyone to invite their family and friends. Please share the link, because this is a very special and unique experience, and all of us are going to be governing through change. So, not all of our family loves Art of Vedic principles, but they do need to be able to hear Gary's message and Hope's message with change. So please invite everybody that you know and have.
Yeah, so Jaina, I'm so inspired that you invited others, because everything that we do impacts the field. So if everyone's on the same page around how we navigate change, it actually can help us accelerate our assimilative process of loss and grief and trauma, and actually do that with the people we love. My God, that accelerates things. So I'm so thrilled, Jaina, that you're opening it up to the wider community. And it also is a great way for people who might not have been on the call to actually just feel the unbelievable unconditional love of this community. I don't think I've ever felt the way I felt after those 3 days in Sedona, and I haven't had a chance to see or talk about it with you all since then. But what a privilege to be in a field of unconditional love, like all of us were. And that was extended, that by the very definition, we're here carrying that wherever we go. So thank you so much for the invitation, Jaina. And if you want to have a little thing to share, if you liked, as a way to drop into our hearts. But if not, no worries. I'm always here for supporting the greater good for the group. Love you guys.
I definitely want to have you drop us from our head to our heart. Before that, I want to just say thank you to Cornelia. Cornelia is a stable rock in our community, and without her, every time she's gone, I see how much I rely on her, and I so appreciate her. Let's pin her. Oh, let's see, let's spotlight her. Thank you, Cornelia.
You're so welcome.
And I also want to thank Esther Francis. Esther has volunteered to be able to support us on the call today. She is a golden angel, and she's so full of light, joy, love, and I just so appreciate her. Also, let's see if I can find her. I think she's off camera. Deborah Ann, if you're off camera, come on camera. I'm not seeing you. Deborah Ann is also a golden angel that I don't think I can spotlight her, that is here to support us in bringing people in and be able to support. She's a wonderful lady, and we're so excited to have her do that. So thank you. I've also want Sarabjit and Luke to be able to make an announcement at the end of the call, and thank you for that. And Lenore, if we have time, we'll have you do a special announcement. If we don't, we'll wait until next time. But right now, I just want to thank Gary. Thank you so much for being here. This is such a surprise and a joy. And I want to thank Larry, Carol, and Shadow. And that's not Rex?
No.
That's Prince.
Prince. Hello, Prince. And so thank you for being here, for your heart. I've been able to spend some time with these beautiful people this week, and just over the phone. And it's been such an enlightening experience. It was so joyful. I really appreciate it. So we're excited to hear from these four later on in the call. Gary, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, all of you know by now, if you've experienced me, that there's a power to allowing ourselves to just drop in to the liminal field where spoken word music can actually do us and cymatically construct us into beautiful sacred geometric patterns in the fluids in our life. So it might not directly relate to the Philosopher's Wrench book, but that, by the way, Larry, congratulations on that beautiful book. But it will support us in being more receptive and present in this call. So I'm going to do a very special secret thing. My beloved, one of really my best, one of my best friends passed away a few weeks ago, and I brought him in the studio to create to record these things that he wrote called the Delightment is the name of his book. Escaping the solitary confinement of your prisonality. I'll put it in the chat. But we went in the studio, and I just allow this to wash over you and bring you into more presence in your body, heart, mind, and spirit. And I love you, and I'm with you, and I'm going to play this thing. It's about 3 minutes. It's really short. So it'll be quick and efficient, and you'll be ready to talk about Larry's book right after this.
Wonderful. And if we could ask that you turn on your cameras, I would like you guys to stay in your heart, but we sure love seeing who's here when, even though your eyes are closed and you're in a state of meditation. I so appreciate you turn on your.
All right. You ready, guys? Grounded, feet on the ground, a lot of breath, and just soak this in.
Find yourself a place where you're not going to be disturbed. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes and relax. Empty your mind and let these words wash over you. The source of the visible is invisible. We come from the invisible spectrum of love. And manifest into the visible spectrum of light. Light is love looked upon and seen. Light is love slowed down enough to become visible. The essence of all reality is love in motion. The only thing faster than the speed of light is the speed of love. It is instantaneous. Speed is infinite when something simply is. Love is. There is no distance when love is. Speed is a function of separation. Separation is an illusion. No separation, no time, no speed. Love moves at the ultimate velocity. Godspeed.
I love the silence that gets curated when we all drop in together at God's speed. Love is, and we are all in a field of love. I love you all, and I'm with you all. That was Neil Rogan, and I will put in the chat how you could find more of those written, amazing spiritual epithets. They're gorgeous, and I'll put it in the name of the book. You can get it on Amazon. I'm so grateful to be able to share it. And Neil's on the other side smiling down at us right now. Love you guys.
Love you, Gary. Thank you so much. I'm still in the feel of that. It's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing your cameras. I see that there are a couple of people that are saying that they were not able to turn on their cameras. And just so you know, Zoom has done some updates. And so I've noticed that there's been some glitches. So just recommend you going in, doing an update for your Zoom. So then your camera, and then restarting your computer, and then your camera will probably be working. So thank you. So now let's go ahead and move on. I also wanted to do one more thank you. And Cornelia, will you mind sharing about if we've decided to keep the Sunday calls the same or different?
Well, as you probably, some of you know, not everyone knows that, but there was the idea that we would change the layout for the Sunday calls and have a different format in the future. And in a way, in an attempt also to go deeper for whoever was ready to do that. But then there was, we had a council meeting with the Golden Angels last week, and the common denominator was that we don't want to change it, that we keep what we have for the time being, definitely. And so we will have our usual Sunday calls at the same time, 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 Eastern. And the only thing that might change is that Dr. Clint won't be here as often as he used to, particularly now in the summer. Whoever is following him for a long time knows that summertime is definitely the time where he is always going into silence at some point. And Jana will be then our host and guide us through the Sundays. Thank you, Jana, for jumping to that, taking over that task. And we love you, and you are always doing such a great job. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm hoping that the people in the community will definitely be, help me with this, because it takes a village to be able to do this.
It is not just a one-man show. That is really always a team effort. And so everyone is welcome to contribute and show your talents here as well.
Well, great. Let's go ahead and just rub our hands together and send Dr. Clint a blast of love and thank you. We love you and we are with you. I'm so grateful that you have put together this incredible community of love. So beautiful. Thank you. Wonderful. So Larry and Carol, let's chat for a minute. Larry, did you want me to go ahead and start the reading? Do you want to share the story first?
I sort of like to just start with the reading. Maybe that'll get us into an interesting space.
Okay, wonderful. Let me go ahead and just start that. So Larry had he launched his incredible book in Sedona, and that he had as part of the book launch, he read a segment from the book. And so I'm going to play that segment. Oh, Joseph, did you have something you wanted to say? Oh, I thought you were waving at me, Joseph. No, okay. All right. Okay, so I have it set as audio, so I need to do a little changing of this. So yesterday we had a Zoom training call and we learned how to navigate through creating a Zoom meeting, and it was really, really fun. And so I'm just trying to remember how to get back to some things. So this is not what I want, but we're you guys get to see all of my things. Let's see if I can get this bar out of the way. There we go. There we go. Okay, great. So you guys can see Larry's book. Can you hear that?
Well, thank you. That was wonderful, Larry. That was a wonderful little interview. And yes,
Sorry. Oh, yes, that was right. That was right on. Okay.
Spaces there. Using your heart, creativity, and tools to fix the world is really what you're all about. So congratulations again. And now we're going to move on to what's one of my favorite parts is Larry is now going to read an excerpt from his book.
Okay, I've got a book. It's called Acceptance Land.
What page is it on, Larry? There we go.
Acceptance Land. You may have heard of Shangri-La, a mythical place of peace and beauty. In many ways, Acceptance Land is similar to Shangri-La, but for one very important difference. It's real. Like Shangri-La, for one very important difference. It's real. Like Shangri-La, it is amazingly difficult to find, but once you have made the journey, you'll be able to get there whenever you wish. Acceptance Land truly is a special place. When you're there, you'll notice that people are not judged on their clothes or the color of their skin or their skill with social circumstances. In fact, they're simply not judged. Carrying judgment around is not a burden the residents of Acceptance Land choose to have on their backs or minds. They choose to look at facts, discern the intentions of others, and then be guided by those things. Acceptance Land also has guiding lights. The truth there is not so flexible as it can be elsewhere. In Acceptance Land, they all work from the same facts and the same truths, which remain solid and unchanging over time. And they are always on the lookout for new or undiscovered truths. Imagine if we could do that here. So much dissent would simply fade away as it would have nothing to stand on. One other big difference is that in Acceptance Land, there is no fear because there's nothing to be afraid of. In Acceptance Land, fear isn't a habit. The residents support each other and help each other and all life forms. They feel they are part of a larger web of life and treat it with respect. There's no need to amass money or lots of stuff in Acceptance Land, as there's no risk of scarcity or need for power over anybody or anything. After all, it is a special place. Even the concept of death, which many find scary here, is, to the residents of Acceptance Land, simply a transition. It can be a joyful change because you'll get to visit an unknown realm and learn new things while leaving that old, worn-out body behind. Acceptance Land is clearly a rare and wonderful place, but how to find it? The discovery of Acceptance Land seems to be one of those instances where the truth hides in plain sight. In order to see the right path, we need the right eyes. Okay, so how do we get that kind of vision? Let's take this in small steps. We know that Acceptance Land harbors no fear. So let's try practicing getting rid of fear as a response to events around us. Let's drop all the luggage that fear creates and see if the path to Acceptance Land becomes a bit more apparent. Let's skip judgment and the separation it always creates. This encourages unity and a feeling of connectedness. It can even empower love, which casts a light that no unhappy force can dim. Fear and hate must flee from love, which just happens to be the coin of the realm rather than empty money. With love, there can be no scarcity or judgment. Does a mother judge her baby or simply pour on the love? So are you beginning to feel what it's like to be in Acceptance Land? Good. Now go have a look in the mirror. Take your time and look deeply. Acceptance Land is right in front of you. You know the path to this magnificent place and can be there anytime you want.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I love that. When he was reading that, when I was watching that, all I could think of is our community And the principles in what he's sharing with Acceptance Land go so hand in hand with the principles and concepts of this community, you know, to be able to let go of fear and ego, to be able to drop the baggage that fear creates, you know, to just go into that place of transition. And when we drop that, you know, the judgment and the fear and the ego, we go into, you know, not only the acceptance, but the love and the safety that comes from that. So Larry, thank you.
Thank you.
So Larry, tell me, why did you write this book?
Well, I have this need to be helpful. It's sort of strange, but as a kid, I saw things going sideways and couldn't fix them. So it became a goal to learn how to fix stuff, whatever stuff. So if I can help with what I've learned with this book, great.
It's really true. Larry and I and Carol had a real heart to heart, and understanding, you know, that when you are in life, there's always good around you, and there's always not good around you. And a lot of times we have to have both in order for us to learn, in order for us to grow. And Larry shared personally some of the reasons why he wanted to be helpful. And, you know, it was not too much different from the majority of us. We have something that happens in our lives, and we use that kind of as our guiding star. And Larry definitely is helpful. Larry's book, Larry, when you mix philosophy, water heaters, you mix tools, you mix love, you mix animals in this book. Tell me why and how you did this.
Well, ultimately, aren't all these things actually connected? I mean, to me, think of hands, brain, and heart. Philosophy could be just brain, but, well, there's more to it. You know, we're a combination with, you know, what can we do with our hands and what can we imagine? And there's a heart in there someplace, we hope, and bad humor too. But anyway, if we can mix all these things together, then that's more what our universe is. So why not treat it as a whole and not put things in silos and say, oh, the thinkers are over there and the doers are over there. No, we don't have to do that. I'm not sure if I'm being clear, but
You're being completely clear. You know, basically, we are humans and we have different parts that we love, you know. And the one thing that I noticed when we were having the conversation is you had told me that at the age of 5 that you had a love for plants. And then at the age of around 9, I can't remember exactly, you started to take things apart. And then later on, you started to put them back together. But what I noticed was with the way that you were communicating, you had a love for Mother Earth. And even as you moved into the mechanics of how things function and work, there was still an undertone of loving for the earth. And I believe that that's probably the reason why you've gone into this. I get that you love water, and water heaters seem to be the things that you work on, but the way that you work on the water heaters is with a love for Mother Earth, so that things don't get discarded. So Larry, you have a special secret that most plumbers don't know about water heaters and the length of time that they. Can you tell us about that?
I wish they had this for people, but maybe they do. But for water heaters, there are sacrificial anode rods. This is a magnesium. It's best if it's a magnesium rod that goes into the tank, and it corrodes away before steel can. So the corroding magnesium essentially drives the rusting reaction with steel backwards. So I've made water heaters last over 50 years by checking and replacing anodes every now and then. And it's a simple, inexpensive, well, it's not simple to get the old anode rod out the first time, but once you've done that, it's a fairly simple, quick thing to do that really works. And they, in home economics books in the 40s and 50s, were teaching housewives how to check anode rods, but modern day plumbers don't know this stuff. So, but we replace something like 9 million water heaters every year in the US. That's many billions of dollars that we waste. So why do that?
Oh, well, I think I see your love for Mother Earth, and if we can restore and reutilize what we already have, we're not discarding things that don't need to be discarded.
Sure. I mean, better than recycling is maintaining something so that it just keeps on going. Recycling's good too. No complaints. But yeah, if we can live a little lighter, there's no downside to it, unless you sell a lot of water heaters.
Well, tell us about the section in the book about the tools. I haven't got to that section yet, so I'm really interested in hearing how that all fits in.
Well, I guess it starts with, how do you define what a tool is? Is a tool a piece of metal? That's a lot of our image of what a tool is. A nice big pipe wrench, heck, big pipe wrench. That's our concept of tool. But probably a dramatically more powerful tool is compassion, or love, or acceptance, or so many other things that can change the world in wonderful ways too. So I guess I have an overly broad view of what a tool is.
That's true. Why? I can't wait to get to that section of the book. I've read other parts. I've kind of skipped around a little bit, and that's the one part I haven't gotten to. So
yeah,
I loved it when you came on the 100-day call and you had your big pipe wrench. It was awesome. Why bring this book to the world now?
I think there's an awful lot of pain. There's a world of hurt going on right now. I think we're more polarized in the US, at least, than we've probably been since the Civil War. Not a good place to be. I think we need individually, we need all the sorts of tools I'm talking about, so that in our own sphere of influence, we can help mellow things out a little bit, help people to see the world in a less confrontational way. I think there's just a huge amount of good. We all have a sphere of influence, and I don't think we know how big that really is. The ripples go very far. So that's, I think now is a good time to remember our own power, what we can do, and try to calm these waters.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Larry. Carol, you watched Larry put this book together. I would love to hear your viewpoint on how that all happened.
Yeah, well, we were trying to remember how, when did it really start? It's like, there's this thing that would start happening where I'd be doing my thing and Larry would say, do you have a few minutes? I just wrote something. I'd like to read it to you. And I'd be like, sure, okay. And he'd read it to me and go, I don't want editing. Not right now. I just want you to hear it. And
good boundary.
well, I do editing, so it's like, it's so easy to go, but did you anyway, so I got to learn to just receive, and each one was such a gem and so different from the others. And I'd be like, so what are you going to do with these? These are great. How are they going to get to the world? Well, I don't know. And then oh shoot, suddenly I'm blanking out. This is a great thing to do. Oh yeah, after a while, they started becoming sort of almost part of both of our lives, where we'd be chatting about something and one of us would say, oh, there's another essay. And he'd run to the computer and write it all down. They sort of tended to bubble up naturally. I don't think you ever sat down and said, I'm going to write another essay right now. What's it going to be about? They would just come up out of life. And before too long, he has enough of these things. It's like he's figuring out he wants to do a book. And by then it had a momentum so that working on this project is continuing to write essays, but look for, okay, which ones are, maybe need a little more explaining for a non-plumber audience, and, how do they group together? And I realized that this book was more important to him than almost anything else he was doing. It wasn't some little side hobby. It was like he was motivated. And before too long, he knew how the cover had to be. It just absolutely clear. And it was just a beautiful process to watch. And of course, all the more beautiful to see how it's touching people's lives.
Oh, so great. Well, you've been a big contributor to the book. You always have to have somebody, a sounding board. You always have to have somebody to collaborate with, and so grateful for that. I love it. Oh, wonderful. I would like everybody to get a copy of their book and to be able to maybe open it up to something. I'm trying to think of how can I get out of the spotlight, Cornelia. If you want to take us off spotlight, that's great. Okay, perfect. Yes, Kris, Kris, would love to hear from you.
So I want to share the point that I opened up to. I know, Jana, I didn't send you it, but I figured I could just talk about it really quick. So I opened up to page 63 and my eyes immediately went to heaters like to breathe too. So I read, that page and the top of the next page. And I just want to say that everything resonated with me. Recently, I've had two very close friends going through some serious stuff, and I just, listen and I tell them to breathe. Just remember to breathe. So it's just like a simple thing, and that's what came to me just when I opened it. So thank you, Larry.
Why don't we take a deep breath just like that? Larry, is it just that we just take a deep breath in?
Why not? Sure.
Okay. let's take 3 deep breaths in. So let's do 1 and let go. 2 and let go. 3 and let go. How many of you feel differently? Yeah, feel so much more lighter, so much more alive, connecting to that presence. That's the one thing that I noticed about Larry, is that he's extremely present. He sees what's happening in the moment and really honors that. Yeah. Mindy.
Hey. Good to see everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. I had what I suspect is an unusual opportunity inside this group to actually work with Larry at the Unstoppable event. We had a couple drains that were stopped, and we had the really fun attitude and experience to solve that problem. And when it came to me that there were some issues, I just kind of quickly went over to Larry while he was in the audience enjoying the program and said, how would you feel about going to solve some plumbing puzzles with me? And he immediately jumped up and off we ran to these 2 different houses that had some issues. And often he comes at he's so helpful, because oftentimes in life, when you encounter an opportunity, a challenge, a hurdle, a puzzle like that, like a clogged garbage disposal or a toilet, they're maybe not always your most fun opportunity. And it was just, as odd as it sounds, it was an absolute delight to solve these problems with Larry. He never felt like, and neither did I, but we never felt like this is insurmountable, or this won't work, or will this work? We just knew that we just needed to try the next thing, and try the next thing, and then go to the hardware store again, and then try the next thing. And it was just such a delight to see him living his book in action, not just, in our daily lives. If you've met Larry or you've interacted with him at all, you feel it anyway, but to see him living that action, living that helpfulness, living that it's all okay, it's in Acceptanceville, we're at this place in the journey, and now we're going to go this way. It was just, he does all of it with just such ease and grace. And Larry, it was a pleasure to work beside you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mindy, thank you so much. And Mindy, I wanted to thank you. Sedona happened when we were in the wake of this incredible love. And I don't know whether everybody felt the gratitude for the contribution that they've made. And, dear Mindy, she and Jenny worked very hard behind the scenes in a lot of different situations. She did a lot of hard things. And I so appreciate you keeping things flowing and moving and cleaned up and organized, along with these two beautiful people. Let me see.
It was fun. It was really fun. I'm endlessly grateful for the opportunity to contribute, to work with those two, to work with all of you, and to meet you guys. It was just, I loved doing it, and it was my honor to be a part of it.
Well, we're so grateful that you're part of the community. You are so organized, and I love how you function and flow. So thank you.
Sweet friend.
Big hugs. I love it. Well, Joseph, and while you guys are here, do you want to say what you're going to say?
Oh, well, happy to. I just thought of, one of these philosophical analogies that Larry was so good about bringing forward. I was just remembering a little plumbing project that I had going, and I can't remember which trip it was back to the hardware store, but the man there says to me, the average plumbing fix or job or whatever, the average is 3 trips to the plumbing store, right? So, there's that part of me, it's like, well, if I can do it in 1 or 2, I feel like I'm ahead of the game. But, knowing that here's a guy, who's helping people, for his career, and he knows it takes at least 3 trips. So I'm thinking in life, if I have something that I'm trying to deal with, a challenge, whatever, don't stop the first time I try, don't stop the second time I try, because like a leaky sink or a bad toilet or a whatever, just if I understand, well, the first time I make the effort may not be the one that gets the resolution, but persist. And, I find peace in knowing that I'm not alone in not being able to remedy a situation just after the first try. So that was, that's my share for Larry.
I love it. And it is so profound. I was just thinking as you were speaking about how Larry's book kind of brings the philosopher out in each one of us. And that's what I saw in you, Joseph. It's the philosopher that came out while you were talking about that. So thank you.
Well, I took your challenge, to flip it open and do that. So that was a fun experiment, fun challenge. Thank you for putting that forward.
Awesome. And the challenge is, and I'm going to send it out to the community. If you have one of Larry's books and you want to open it up and share it on today's call, so that's perfect. So Beverly, you were actually the one who inspired me to do this challenge. Do you want to? Yeah.
Good morning. I was so privileged to spend time with Larry in Sedona and loved every minute, because the philosopher, the truth seeker, the man who just seems like and lives the ancient secrets day in and day out, was always there. I opened to cat meditation. And I see Larry with his cats, and I love my dogs, and so I relate to that. And oh, sorry. As I looked at it, Larry explained that he likes to quiet his mind and put the pieces into place. So what better way than to sit quietly in meditation? But for many of us, meditation, our monkey brains start solving all the problems, and it's hard. It's hard to sit in meditation. So for Larry, it's sitting with his cat, and it's listening to the cat purr, and is stroking the cat. And it's going deep into the heart and soul. And then he says, what if we can do it with crickets? What if we can do it with the sound of cars? What if I can do it with my dog? And I know from reading these pages, the messages are there for each and every one of us to relate. I love this book because I see it in people who have a hard time sitting down and reading a book from front to back. And that's why I said to Jana, don't worry about reading the book from cover to cover. Open the page that draws you today. And so when I opened to cat meditation, that's what drew me that day. And there's so much that it's in the basic teaching. It doesn't matter whether it's plumbing, whether it's cooking. It doesn't matter what you're relating to. We can all see that little philosopher's story and how the mind winds it around to the thoughts, and the thoughts wind it around to what if we try. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's so beautifully written. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you. Thank you a lot. You've done good. Thank you. I'm feeling really spoiled.
Grateful. Karen, would love to hear from you.
So got the book. Oops, wait a minute. I'm not on the video. There we go. Nope, sorry. Okay, it's coming back. Okay, I've got the book, and I underlined stuff in the book when I was traveling. So one of the things I liked was the Red Sock Day. And Larry retrieved some red socks that were thrown away because his socks had holes, and these were great socks. So he hadn't worn them for a long time, or he hadn't worn them. And then one day the socks called out and said, hey, if you wear us, you'll have a great day. So I thought, okay, you're on. So he put them on and went about his day. And he said he had a fine day indeed, filled with good surprises. And from then on, when I got the hunch that it would be a wonderful day, I wear the red socks. I never put them on to make sure or force having a good day. I just wear them because the magic in the air told me it would be good. So sometimes years go by and I don't put them on, and I can still have good days. But when the socks offer themselves up to be worn and the feeling is right, it never fails in unpredictable and unexpected ways that I have a good day. Maybe wearing them just opens my mind more clearly to all the good that's around, just waiting to be noticed. Thinking about the difference between weekend days and work days, I'm wondering if wearing red socks during the work week might help make it feel more like the weekend. Maybe we could take much of the drudgery and difficulty out of the work days by letting red socks help us see the good more easily during the week. Maybe we could just adopt a red sock state of mind much or all of the time. I love that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Karen, for sharing that with us.
Page 90, page 90.
Page 90. Romarishi.
Yes, hello. And hello, Larry. I was so happy to connect with you in Sedona, even though briefly. And I think I want to let the cat out of the bag here. Many of you may be familiar with the term veiled master, someone who is a veiled master. Many masters are well known. Some of them have hundreds or thousands or millions of students around the world. But there are other people who are veiled. They aren't out there visible to the world. Well, I believe, and I am going on record right now today to declare Larry a Zen master. Larry is a Zen master, and his book contains the same wisdom that you will read in the books by the greatest Zen masters who have ever lived. His book is pure Zen. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you. This comes from one who knows. Thank you.
I have to leave now, but I just wanted to contribute that to the call. I have
Thank
to
you so
drive somewhere.
Wonderful. Romarishi, thank you so much. You always have such great words of wisdom and support. I love it. Nehemiah.
Thank you, תודה רבה. Larry, I don't want to speak about you. I want to speak, and I don't want to speak to you. I want to speak with you, even though you wouldn't respond straight away. But before I do that, I want to speak with someone else for 1 minute. My friend Jennifer, who is here for the first time from New York, and she is almost as fast outreach to people as a top person in this area, Clint Rogers. She reached so many people with beautiful, creative, loving messages. So we are lucky to have you, Jennifer, with us. Such a loving, creative person.
Yes,
And
welcome,
teaches
Jennifer, and welcome to all of the people who are new. And if you are new, if you'll just put "I'm new" in the chat, that would be awesome. So Nehemiah, go ahead.
And Larry, to you. You helped me today to overcome one limited concept, which is important. I am a philosopher by nature. I'm a thinker, whatever. But when I met enlightened being, like I totally agree with Romarishi before me. When I met them in person, and I even hosted them in my yoga meditation center in Jerusalem, it was completely different. And then I started to look down at Western philosophers because I looked at most of them came from axiom, which couldn't be proved or anything, just their mind created something and created a full, beautiful philosophy that had very little to do with our life. So I had a prejudice against Western philosophy. Now, whatever it was, today a philosopher came, you, and show me, it doesn't matter, east, west, or wherever you are, your wisdom come deeply from your heart, from your hands, from the universe, not from a mind which is disconnected. And I really respect you for that. Whenever the time is right, I'll read your book. I respect you for that. And I want to join Maharishi. In Hebrew, we call it what Maharishi called a tzaddik nistar, a hidden tzaddik, a hidden master. You are one. And since Romarishi exposed you today, I'm joining him and I'm expose you. In my perception, you are there. You are in the reality that is always exist, and you share it and people receive it. The people in the East do something even better. They do it without words. They just sit there, but we need words. We are in the West. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I agree that, philosophy isn't just a mental exercise. I said that philosophy isn't simply a.
You're muted for someone.
For some reason, he keeps getting muted. Let's unmute.
Let's try that one more time. I was just saying that philosophy to me isn't a mental exercise. It's a way of living and a way of being. So
yes,
I like not being bounded by words.
Yes, when we were talking this last week, Larry, do you mind if I share how you think?
If I think, sure.
Larry told me that he thinks in pictures, and it makes complete sense. I think in words, I think in feelings and emotions, and I put words to that. And when we were in Sedona, there were moments where I loved being with him. I just felt so grounded, but I was struggling to find the words because I do like words. And now that I know that he thinks in pictures, it makes complete sense, because when I connect to the experience from that viewpoint, I can see what he was, showing me in essence, and this is one of the reasons why he speaks so well with animals and with cats specifically, but is because he does speak in pictures, and animals speak in pictures as well. So
Jenna, I'll dare to throw one more thing. Larry, you are like the prophets of Israel and Jesus and other. They have visions, and they come from this vision. They really come from a place which is beyond the mind, and you are also. And again, I mentioned we are in the West. We are a verbal, how do you say, culture. So we need words. And one day we'll be able to sit more without words and just get the energy. But at the time, words are the vehicle to get to the energy that behind them. So you are doing wonderful. This picture, especially, it's so beautiful. Look at all the prophets of Israel. They speak through pictures, visions, and Jesus is no exception. It was a top, in my opinion, it was a top prophet of Israel. He just said things that other people found, so that people are not ready to hear about the unity of God and man.
I'm looking forward to you getting his book and reading some excerpts from it. So thank you, Nehemiah. So appreciate it. Kris, you had the book held up. Is there a reason why you were?
Someone was asking the name of it again.
Oh, great. Oh, okay. So it's the Philosopher's Wrench. Using your creativity, heart, and tool to fix the world. That's a pretty big claim. Larry, do you want to speak to that claim?
Why think small?
I love it.
But really, but that sphere of influence thing, if we all do what we can in our own realm, put all that together, I think fixing the world isn't a tall claim at all. But it takes holding hands.
And AnnRenae, would you like to share?
I just want to come in on what Romarishi said about him being a master, Larry, and I really want to honor you. Can you bring him on at the same time so we can see? I don't know, but anyway, I just want to say about this experience in Sedona with Larry. It's like I really didn't know who he was. I really didn't know about his book. I'm fairly new to the teachings. I really don't know I was really pretty much a newbie, right? So Larry and I had this experience where it was time when we were partnering up with someone, and I don't even remember what we were supposed to be doing together. But I was looking into his eyes, and Larry's really tall and I'm pretty small. So he was way up there, and we were by the altar, and behind his head and over his head were the pictures of the masters of the lineage, right? And all I could see was Larry with his white beard and white hair, and that master that was at the top, right? Who was also white hair and white beard. And I go, Larry, all I can see is you are one of him.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I love it that Romarishi just shared that as well. So thank you, Larry, I didn't ever really have in-depth conversations with you. We were together 2 or 3 times, but I just really want to appreciate you and honor you and share that with the group. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm feeling really spoiled.
Just say, yes, I receive it. Yes, I receive it. Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to put a couple words in here because it's fun sitting here watching him doing his best to take all this in. I'm gonna
Uh-oh.
Jana's not expecting this. If there's one area where Larry's on his own learning edge, it's receiving positive feedback. I am so appreciative of all of you for giving him more practice in receiving positive feedback than he's probably had to deal with in one time chunk like this. And it's just well deserved and beautiful. And he'll let it all in. Might take a little while, but
May we give him some more to take in? May we all collectively, with our hands, and give Larry and Carol a blast of our love and appreciation for this momentous, amazing contribution. Thank you, thank you, thank you. They are such generous beings. That's my experience with them previously, and wow, so wonderful.
It's a powerful group. Thank you so much, Esther. That was beautiful. Sharon, I would love to hear from you.
Oh, and I'm already unmuted. Yay! I have been listening to all of this, and I love the idea of acceptanceville. I've been sitting here writing while Larry and everyone has been talking, and I was wondering, well, what were the ABCs of acceptanceville? How do you do that? So, of course, number 1 is acceptance, but then the second one would be boundaries. And the third one is compassion. And I just learned about boundaries last year. They're really cool. But I also learned that it doesn't have anything to do with trying to get anyone else to do anything. It's about what you're willing to take on or do or put up with or anyway. And when you don't have to do anything about something, it's a lot easier to listen. And yeah, I mean, there are times when you actually do need to drive someone to the hospital or what have you. But most of the time, the breathing and listening is probably more effective than any other remedy. So I wanted to thank you for that.
I love that. It reminded me of a part of the book, and now I can't remember what part of the book it was, and I'll have to think of it. But Sharon, I love that you just discovered boundaries. You know, I discovered boundaries, but it's very difficult to implement boundaries, and I'm learning how to do that. So I'm just laughing because it's so incredible.
I wish it hadn't taken me quite so long. But saying, late is better than never. Yeah, late is better than never.
I love it. Okay, anybody else would like to share?
Yeah, I would actually like to share something because we heard, of course, that Larry is really the philosopher. but he's really also definitely the man you want to have around when there are things not working, as we already heard from Mindy. Because when we were in Sedona on the last day, we were preparing something before everyone arrived, and we needed a knife. And of course, you are in a venue and no one has a knife. And then I thought, okay, Larry is here. If someone has a knife in his pocket, it is, of course, Larry. So I walked over to him, and of course, he just smiled at me and took his knife out of his pocket. And I guess he has it in his pocket right now, as I can see. Are you having it?
We're working on it.
You're working on it.
We're working on it.
So that was definitely the saver
Funny.
of the day, because we really needed to cut something, and there, of course, no one had a knife at that moment, but Larry had. So he's really a good person to have next to you whenever you are in need of any tools, be it philosophical or out of whatever steel. I just wanted to say that as well.
So perfect. So perfect. Because in Larry's book, it talks about, you know, a lot of things that we don't think about, you know, to ways to be prepared. You know, not only the water heaters, but I think Joseph was telling me that there was a part about self-sufficient homes. Is that right? Yes, Joseph.
Oh, was that on you?
Yeah, I was going to say something.
Oh, Susan, yes.
Yeah, but do you want him to answer about self-sufficient homes?
Well, I think when you put the challenge out to flip the book, I turned to like, how much power do you need? And was you know, read that segment, and you know, immediately as I was reading it, thinking, well, what is power? I mean, your reference was around electricity, but I'm metaphorically looking at, well, what is power? You know, control, money, strength, you know, all these things. And, you know, the point is, you really only need enough power to run yourself. And you don't need to have enough power to control the world or to run other people. You talk about, you know, your sphere of influence. I love that I, you know, in the meditation from Dr. Naram of Unstoppable, you know, he says, well, you will be influencing hundreds of people, thousands of people, millions of people. And, you know, you don't really know how powerful you really are or your effect on other people. So to me, that's like mind my energy field, you know, pay attention to it, because it's influencing those around me, whether it's at the grocery store or sitting here, to be respectful and put out the kind of energy you want. But I digress. The point was that I took in, if I just mind my own power and take care of what I need, I'm in a better place to be present. And, you know, it's to put on my mask before I help others. And so I appreciated that segment in there as a reflection of, you know, how I need to pay attention to myself and what I need and what kind of footprint I make on the planet and within the sphere of the people that I interact with. So thank you. That was, is that what you were asking about?
That was exactly what I was asking, because it, you know, Larry's basic philosophy is to be helpful. And when we're looking at, you know, whether it be a knife or whether it be, you know, toilet plunging, or whether it be, you know, helping the world so that we're not wasting, or if it's, you know, supporting a kitty who's sick, you know, or if we are preparing for, you know, future challenges, you know, all of this is in this book. And it's just the way that Larry thinks. It's just who he is. He definitely is revealed in this book. And so, yes. So thank you, Joseph. That was exactly what I was thinking of. Susan, what did you want to say?
Oh, I just quickly wanted to say that I'm also married to someone who fixes broken things, and it's very, very, very good at solving problems in that way. A lot of similarities I can relate. But what I wanted to say is I was really aware of how frustrated I get, quickly frustrated, if there's something in the material world that's going on that I can't fix immediately, something with my computer, something with whatever it is, and how quickly I can get frustrated, especially the remote controls and the television. And when the volume goes out or whatever, the picture, I can't get the station I want. And my first go-to is saying, okay, universe doesn't want me to watch TV now, and I'll just leave it because I don't want to deal with it. So I think what I'm taking from this is that everything that we encounter in the physical world, in the relational world, wherever we encounter it, is such a deep opportunity to grow and such a deep opportunity to not just go to frustration and giving up, but to really stay with ourselves and learn what we need to learn. And it's all our Zen masters. And so I just wanted to say that I'm going to shift I'll notice my immediate frustration and then say, but what would Larry do here?
Go back to the plumbing store.
Go back to the plumbing store.
Oh,
So
no,
thank you.
that's easy. If the remote's not working, get out your 3-foot pipe wrench.
Oh, good.
The
Thank
remote
you.
will work then, I promise.
Right. That's how it feels. Thanks.
I love it. Lenore, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I like to, good morning, everybody. I like to post a question to Larry. I am also a big upcycler, recycler, and creating discarded chairs, for instance, into artworks, including a Sedona chair I made. And at some point I will show it off. But Larry, this example about the countless water heaters that are disposed is very, very, this touches me as much as the cat stories touch other people, because I think it is such a great insult to the globe to dispose so many pieces of equipment, like you said, that women were taught to fix. And I'm asking you, are there in your book, I haven't opened it, I don't own it yet, but I will and should give it. Are there other examples? We need examples like that for all the people who.
Whoops.
I think her internet must have gone out. She's frozen. But thank you, Lenore. You know, it's a great reminder, and thank you. Karen.
You put the hand up for me.
I know I keep talking, but I really like Larry. So one of the most important things about Larry's book is that he made me feel that things are possible. You know, sometimes huge world problems, we feel overwhelmed, we can't do anything about it, we can't have an impact. But in Larry's book, the philosophy really tells you that yes, small things matter and small things have huge impact. And I really feel that that's one of the most important messages of his book. And I've underlined plumbing stuff. I have to read it again because I don't understand it. And I'm probably going to call Larry and ask about it. But I love that he cares so much about the environment and how much water we use and how much we dump. But he tells us that we can make a difference. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you. I mean, imagine that there is an energy geek, Amory Lovins, who coined the phrase tunneling beneath the cost barrier. And if you think about energy use simply, if you, the house I built that I'm in right now uses 10% of the energy per square foot of living space that most homes do. I built it to be really efficient. It's so efficient that I was able to not hook up to the power grid. If you still need to use a lot of power, you need the grid as your source. It's too much to store. But if you become efficient enough, suddenly the expense, trouble, cost, of installing and paying for every month's power goes away. It's fun, you're bringing this up. If we losing track of whatever thoughts I had, but it's pretty easy if you think about it and take your time and plan to not be on that treadmill.
It's really true.
Thank you.
One of the things that I'm noticing is we just met you in Sedona less than 30 days. Has it been 30 days? It's not even been 30. No, it's been 30 days. It's been almost 60 days. And look at the influence that you've had in this community by the book that you've written. Now, in our conversation, I don't know if it's in the book, Larry was telling me that when he had specific accounts that would, clients that would come to him, he would actually refer some of them to other plumbers. And when those plumbers got the referral, what he noticed is that they started to refer back and forth to each other, and they created this community of plumbers and support of plumbers rather than this strong level of competition. And that's what I'm seeing with this community right now, is even his influence right now is creating a coherence and a networking, a community, a bondedness. It's beautiful, Larry, what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Belle.
Well, I missed the opportunity to actually have a conversation in Sedona with Larry, and I'm so sad, but passing him and being present in the same space with him definitely had its effect. There's just, I think, the pointing to your magnanimous presence is what I wanted to underline. And just what you were sharing, Jana, and Larry, could you let this in? Carol sharing that you still have these amazing things arising. I'm going to invite you to have a podcast, of being able to just simply, it's the Philosopher's Wrench podcast that turns around and shares these arisings with the world, because it needs to be shared with. I need to know how to change the anodes in water heaters, but it's just what you're tapped into, Larry, is so big, and it's so practical down there with your great big super wrench. And so I just have gotten into podcasts recently. So it could be one way or another to be supported in just being you, nothing more than sharing or reading what arose in the moment when you went to your computer and opened it up, because you and Carol said, oh, this is a moment, this is a Philosopher's Wrench moment. And then you having some vehicle beyond the book to continue to be in relation. Actually, what Jana was saying, create communities. That can be one of your sharings, how it's about plumbers getting together with each other and just giving that notion, that idea, and then just sitting back and watching it happen. So I just am so inspired by this morning's sharing, and and I was one of the houses where you came and fixed the plumbing. I was so inspired by that. And it's just completely lovely. And where are you in the world, Larry? Where I missed that.
Basically, close to Monterey Bay, California.
Okay. Yeah, beautiful. Yes. And Carol, were you in Sedona, Carol?
No, it was unfortunate. I had a long-standing commitment elsewhere at that time, so I was there in spirit.
Oh, great. Yes. Well, it's so nice to meet you today. So thank you, Jana and team, and and Larry for gracing us with the Philosopher's Wrench and so much more.
Am I hearing the gem of the germ of an Ancient Secrets podcast?
Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, of course, that's a possibility. But Larry, your Philosopher's Wrench, and you can make reference to Ancient Secrets for sure. But as I said, you're this very special combination of the practical and the sublime.
Well, I love how creative you are, Belle. You really are very creative, but I truly have to say, putting on a podcast is a lot of work.
It probably is. I don't know. I'm not the
personal
technological person, but I so appreciate it when I'm just listening to somebody share. But anyway, I just, love it, love it, love it. Thank you.
Well, we'll have him come on the Sunday calls and he can share his philosophy.
Right.
Unless he wants to do a podcast, and then that's perfectly fine. Yes, Carol, I would like to have Carol. I would like Carol to speak, and then I would like Larry to read a story, and then we're going to do breakout rooms. So thank you for everything.
I just wanted to chime in here because obviously there is a demand for more Larry. And we actually have already an announcement that he is coming back to us. He has a call on, Larry agreed to do another call on July the 20th, which is the next Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific. And it's the same link as today. So I posted here. So if you want to hear more from Larry, and it's about, I think, 90 minutes. Larry, am I correct?
Yes.
You agreed to 90 minutes. So if you want to hear more philosophy, more about what he has to share with us, then please come next Thursday, the 20th of July, 10 a.m. Pacific.
Wonderful. Thank you for remembering. Larry, would you like to, Carol had something to say, and then we'll hear from, yes, Carol, and then we'll hear from Larry.
Thank you. Yeah, actually, I wanted to follow on to what Susan was saying. I think Susan's still in the background. Is that right? Yeah, they're good. Hi. Back when I was probably the first person to say, how do you tell the world about how this technological stuff goes together with the philosophical stuff? Because the world's not oriented that way. And one of the things that came to me ties in with what Susan was saying. I think this tendency to just get frustrated when the technical stuff that underpins our daily lives doesn't work right and we feel powerless around it. So for example, plumbing, and particularly water heaters, I'm going to guess that most people don't think about that stuff until it doesn't work. We're just so accustomed, certainly in Western civilization, to having the plumbing work. We expect it to work. We might wish the hot water came faster, but only when it doesn't work do we get freaked out. And then we're basically dependent on the priesthood of plumbers who aren't always as well educated as you would like. And it can be quite frustrating. So in a way, what the bridge there in my mind became, let's become empowered by becoming as capable of grappling with our own plumbing, building, energy use issues as we are, say, our personal growth issues, which doesn't mean it's always easy, but at least we can meditate on our own. We don't have to, get instructed in how to do it. But the plumbing, we don't know how to do it. So Larry in the book takes us to the edge of being able to bring the plumbing world into our empowerment realm, let's say. So I think it's great hearing people talk about how they're learning more about plumbing, just reading this book, but it gives me an opportunity to bring up Larry's first book. I don't know if it comes across backward, but if you get through the plumbing stuff in this book and you're like, okay, I know something now, but I want to know more. He's covered pretty much everything to do with the water heater part of it in the water heater workbook. So he's been working on being helpful for a long time and just expanded to realms having to do with cats and love.
I did that a little over 30 years ago, and the world of publishing is totally different now, but the information's still good.
Wonderful. Oh my gosh. Great. Well, Larry, before you before you go, and Lenore and Schiffer, if you guys wouldn't mind holding your questions until next week, and except for Lenore, we might be able to have time to do your segment in just a minute. But Sarabjit's got to leave the call, and I asked Sarabjit to be able to make an announcement with Luke. So Sarabjit, go ahead and unmute.
Hello,
And
good morning, everybody. It was wonderful to hear such talent and see such talent, you know, and I had the opportunity of meeting you, Larry and Carol, at one of the clinics here, the Pulse clinics. We had a 1 hour long chat also, we sat, so it was really wonderful. And I'm going to buy your book. I don't have it yet because I was not there at Sedona, but definitely I'm going to buy it. And now, especially after hearing all the good things that are in it. And talking about talent, you know, we have very talented artists here, and we are trying to put their art in our shop that we have on the products that are coming out, which have been there for the last 2 years. Many of you may not know. So I'm going to put a link in the chat here. You can go take a look at the shop, and there are a lot of products, and here is one that I have from last year's, you know, we had this last year's program that we celebrated last June. So this is the mug that came from that program. And there are other shirts, which Luke will tell you about, and I too have. And there are many people who you can, you know, share these products with your friends, family during any event, give them as gifts, and the proceeds will go, you know, to the orphanage. So we are celebrating the talents of all our artists, as well as helping the orphanage. So I was just going to say, if you ever have the need to buy anything, please take a look at the shop if you haven't, and Luke is going to take over and tell you more about it.
Hi, well, I didn't know I was announcing today, but it's a worthwhile cause to go to the Ancient Secrets Foundation shop. I don't know if well, I'm sure some of you have been there, but maybe some of you have not. It's a wonderful online store that has so many gorgeous Ancient Secret products. So please go there. Go to ancientsecretsfoundation.com and click on the shop link. You'll see a drop-down box with so many different things, and just go through everything. And we're working with Mindy Barrett right now to kind of revamp things, so things are a little more organized and put into product categories. But just go and take a look. I didn't wear my favorite is my Unstoppable t-shirt, which I'm not wearing. Today I'm wearing my Sedona t-shirt, which I was gifted, which I just love. And I don't think that's on the store, but my Unstoppable t-shirt that Sarabjit designed is one of my favorite t-shirts. And every time I go out in the world and I wear it, people ask me about it. Unstoppable. What are you unstoppable about? And I get to have conversations with people just because I wear this amazingly gorgeous shirt that Sarabjit designed. So anyway, this is an unabashed plug to go to the Ancient Secrets Foundation shop and go take a look, because there are so many beautiful things. And if you are an artist and you would like your artwork imprinted on a great product like a t-shirt or a mug or a tote bag or whatever, you know, contact Sarabjit about that, because we would love to always add new products to the store. So that's pretty much it. Go take a look. It's an amazing store with beautiful products, and the proceeds go to help the orphanages in the park.
And I want to add, you know, that those who were at Sedona, they probably got Judy's beautiful bag, mung bean bag, that was created for the event this time. And there's in the shop, there are two versions of the bag that Judy Lamar's artwork can be seen, and she does beautiful art, as well as there are other artists who have contributed. And Padmalaya's, you know, mandalas are there on the mugs, and Mariam's art is there on the posters. So there's beautiful artwork from our community. We have very talented artists. Please take a look. Definitely support the Ancient Secrets. You'll be supporting everybody, the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarabjit has been putting a lot of effort in the last 3 years into this shop, and she really has done a lot of work and putting everything together. Esther's showing her mug that she's got there. And so
Cheers, Esther.
and we're so grateful for you. Anyway, so Larry, let's go ahead and have your reading, and then Cornelia, if we can set up the breakout rooms, and then Lenore, if you wouldn't mind if we could share next week your flags, that would be beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. But I put some things into the chat that it was just a comment about our plumbing, our personal plumbing. Old folks, when they say, you know, it's not working anymore like it used to be. So I just discovered today that analogy of plumbing in our body which we don't handle with wrenches.
It's so true. I'm always amazed at how much Ancient Secrets talks about the plumbing that we have. Joseph, did you have something really quickly to say? No. Okay. All right. You're saying goodbye. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're getting to that point. That's why I was going to say, let's do the reading. Okay, let's do the reading, then we'll do breakout rooms.
Okay. This is called Just for One Day. I'd like to suggest a strange and simple experiment. It's a challenge and a test, and it just might bear sweet fruit. What if you took just one day in your life and paid attention only to what's right and good in the world? Just one day. If you feel like it, keep a journal of some sort, make some verbal notes on your smartphone or whatever works for you. We're so used to tempering what's right with what's wrong. Some folks live life as though nearly everything has risks and downsides. We often limit the positive out of fear that if we get used to it, it might go away and let us down. I'm proposing living in the present and paying attention to all of the good in and around us. Sometimes all that good stuff is hard to see and feel, especially when our minds are living someplace in the future or the past. For example, if I look around me right now, I could focus on the overcast day or remember my cat who recently died way too young. Or I could go pick up that cat's sibling who's still going strong and pet him into purring and needing the air. Needing the air is a cat's version of air guitar for humans. It's fun. I could look outside and notice just how many types of birds are enjoying the seed that I put out for them. I could notice that I'm comfortable in the house I built and that I'm in decent health. The present moment offers up much to be grateful for. You usually don't need to look very hard to find good stuff. The problem is that we're often looking at what's amiss instead. The world will probably always have things that need fixing, but that doesn't mean we can't choose to have some stellar days. Even things that might be considered a burden, like a phone call from a talkative person that you know will take an hour of your time when you're trying to get stuff done. Think of it as a gift, teaching and helping you refine your ability, excuse me, your ability to be patient and be a good listener or a good boundary setter. Paying attention to someone is a simple act, but it can be a game changer for them, particularly if they're feeling down and out. A few weeks ago, I was talking on the phone with a woman who just couldn't seem to get done what needed to get done. As she talked, I recognized the signs of her possibly being suicidal. She was a severe case of focusing only on what could go wrong. I couldn't sit with that, so I took 2 days and helped her get things done. Tears turned into laughter. Now that phase of her life is done, she's moving on to a brighter future. She just needed someone to be on her side for a bit. I get to know that I made a difference, so now I have one more positive outcome to think about while I'm only paying attention to what's right in the world. Another little monster that does what it can to make us see only what's wrong is regret. Regrets haunt us and keep us from being fully present and aware of the world and its gifts to us. If you do your best, that old "if I had only known" thought can't get a toehold. Things do change. New and better information comes along. But that's no reason to hammer yourself for past events if you did your best with what you knew. So for this day of seeing what's right, put any regrets out of mind so they cannot cloud your vision. The real hope and benefit to seeing what's right for a day is that it just might feel so good that you decide it's worth repeating the next day and the next. So it becomes a rewarding way of life. There really isn't any risk other than having some sore smile muscles. The world will most likely keep turning even if you take a day off from what could go wrong. So as Bobby McFerrin sings, don't worry, be happy. Thank you for putting up with me.
There's no putting up with about it. We love you. And I'm just so amazed at how just your life, it just intuitively encompasses the ancient secrets. And it's so wonderful that Clint was able to, publish this book with you. So thank you so much. Let's give Larry and everybody who's contributed a blast of love. You know what? After we do that, let's unmute and say, I love you and I'm with you. And then we'll go into breakout rooms. I love you and I'm with you.
I love you and I'm with you.
Love you and I'm with you.
And I'm with you and I'm with you.
You and I'm with you all the way.
Yay, Larry.
You and I'm with you.
You and I'm with you.
I
love you and I'm with you.
Love you and I'm with you.
And I'm with
Love
you.
you and I'm with you.
Love you and I'm with you all the way.
Love you and I'm with you.
Awesome. I love you and I'm with you. I love all of that. Let's go ahead and go into breakout rooms, Cornelia. Thank you.
Okay, breakout rooms are opened.